My hometown in North Texas is famous for its steakhouse and the legend that Bonnie and Clyde attempted to rob the bank, but were unsuccessful because supposedly the vault was empty. When I was growing up, my hometown also was famous for its stellar basketball teams. I myself played basketball throughout elementary school, but took sixth and seventh grade years off. When I signed up for my comeback season, my eighth grade year, I discovered that coaches were taking things much more seriously than they had whenever I was little. So seriously, in fact, that if I wanted to play basketball, I was going to have to run cross country. I can still remember seeing the real cross country team walking around school in matching t-shirts that read, "My sport is your sport's punishment." First rule of cross country: a mile is 4 laps around the track. I don't know why nobody bothered to tell me that whenever I was instructed to run the first mile of my life, but being the confident kid that I was, I just said, "I was only 2 laps, I got this." So, as I was approaching my second lap, I was feeling victorious because I was towards the front of the pack. But my victory soon turned to dismay as the rest of the team kept on running and my pace slowed to a crawl. The second rule of cross country is do not be late for practice. If you're late, that means more running. Sounds easy enough, but since we were in Texas and cross country season is the first half of the school year, afternoons were scorching. So that means cross country was before school, 6:30 a.m. Those days I was not an early riser, so I hated having to wake up while the sky was still dark. And I hated having to push my barely awake body through 2 miles. And then I hated that after that, I had to share a locker room with a bunch of noisy teenage girls, even though I was one. And after all of that, I still had a full day of school ahead of me. So after surviving cross country and having a somewhat successful basketball season, I decided never again. The next year, I signed up for tennis, where we played for fun instead of college scholarships. Despite this change in my athletics schedule, I kept going for these 2-mile jogs after school. And I realized I like running. I like running. I just don't like running first thing in the morning. So I made a ritual. Once or twice a week after school, I would walk to the end of my long gravel driveway, tighten up my shoelaces, complete some stretches that I learned in cross country. My earpods in, I would select some angsty motivational music like Linkin Park or maybe Rise Against, and then begin the work of moving my body through space. I would breathe in for 2 steps, out for 2 steps, quicken or slow my pace between various mailboxes as little mini challenges for myself. And it was extra nice because there were no coaches around to yell at me. Because while I did like to push myself, running was something that I just did, not something that I had to get better at. So I continued running throughout high school and college. Running was my stress reliever if I had a big test coming up, my celebration of a beautiful day. It was my get out of a funk activity. To my mind, almost any situation could be improved with a 2-mile jog. Until, that is, the summer before my senior year of college, when I crashed my mountain bike, broke a vertebrae, and crushed my spinal cord. This resulted in immediate loss of sensation and movement below my hips, and I was thrust into the most challenging situation of my life. I didn't have running, my tried and true coping mechanism, to get me through. I spent about a month in a rehabilitation hospital where a lot of nice strangers tried to help me make the transition from able-bodied to wheelchair user. To get to know me and make small talk, a lot of the nurses or therapists would ask me about myself. Things like, what was I going to school for? Or what did I like to do for fun? They did not realize it, but these questions had me reeling, searching for my sense of identity. Who was I? Because at that point, I was 3 years into a degree towards environmental science, which I had chosen thinking that after graduating, I might get to join the Peace Corps, where I could travel the world and help people. But the idea of traveling the world or offering help to anyone from a wheelchair felt impossible at that time. For fun, my friends and I would goof off around campus, go play pickup games of volleyball or basketball at the gym, hang out at various dorm rooms and apartments. And a wheelchair was really going to hamper that spontaneous lifestyle that I had. Heck, at that time, I lived on a third floor apartment with no elevator. I drove a stick shift car, and my favorite shoes were flip-flops. None of those things were going to be adapted to life with a wheelchair. And who was I without those things? Now I have been living with my spinal cord injury and all of the accessories and challenges that it comes with for almost 8 years. And in that time, I've been able to put my sense of identity into perspective. I realized that if you had asked me who I was whenever I was 5 years old, I would have said, my name is Yvonne, I like to ride horses, and I have long blonde hair. If you had asked me who I was whenever I started high school, I was very proud of the fact that I was 5'9" at 13 years old, that I played varsity tennis, and I was not going to go to college because I was going to become a professional horse trainer. By the time I was in college, if you asked me who I was, I would have touted my degree choice, my cool car, and the fact that I was becoming an independent young adult. I realized that pieces of my identity have come and gone all through my life, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. So while wheelchair user is not a piece of identity that I chose or would choose, it is one that I am proud of most days because I'm doing life on what I consider to be hard mode, and I'm still kicking butt. I'm also proud of the fact that I still consider myself to be a runner. I don't get to lace up my shoes, put on my angsty motivational music, and then go for a 2-mile jog, but the desire is still there. And just because I don't end that ritual with a 2-mile jog, I now end it with taking my dog for a walk around the neighborhood, or going kayaking, or riding my recumbent trike. Just because I'm not running, that doesn't mean I'm not a runner.